All right, hello, this is Coach Lake. We're on lesson 4, part B, mental health problems, specifically mental disorders and their treatment. I'm also joined by tech guru Eric Gonzalez. Wave, Eric. Yes. So this is like you're literally going back in the past. So anyway, how are substance abuse disorders treated? First, we need to understand what that means. What is abusing a substance abuse disorder? A substance abuse disorder is an unhealthy dependence on alcohol or drugs. Most substance abuse begins as a defensive behavior pattern. And you've probably all heard this before. The most important step is admitting a problem exists. For this reason, most treatment programs begin with self-awareness and admitting the need for help. Treatments may involve individual counseling, behavior change programs, and or support groups, depending on your needs and what you're struggling with. So, how are anxiety disorders treated? Anxiety is a feeling of uneasiness or fearful concern. We talked about this last lesson. You feel anxious when you have a sense that something bad will happen. And then, so anxiety disorders are really many different kinds of problems. Some are physical and some are psychological, or it can be a combination of the two. So when physical problems can be treated with medicine that you get when you see a physician or a psychiatrist. They fill a prescription for you. And that's mainly to do with a chemical imbalance. Psychological problems can be treated with psychotherapy, including behavior modifications. Behavior modification is a form of psychotherapy. It teaches a person to replace less effective behavior patterns with more effective ones. All right, so moving on. How are affective disorders treated? An affective disorder is a mental disorder characterized by disturbed or uncontrolled emotions. The most common affective disorder is clinical depression. This is kind of a buzzword. It's been highly diagnosed over the last 15 years. Clinical depression is a long-lasting, intense sadness that lasts for a long time. People with clinical depression have trouble handling normal activities. That's the key definition. A lot of people, you probably as well, feel sad and quote, I feel depressed. But the big difference is you're so depressed that you have a hard time handling normal activities, or what would be characterized as normal activities by the majority of psychologists. Anyway, in its most dangerous extremes, clinical depression may lead an individual to attempt suicide or kill oneself. Fortunately, clinical depression can be treated with help from professionals. Medical help can include antidepressant medicines as well as psychotherapy. And then one way to deal with depression is to become involved in a goal-oriented activity. Working to reach a reasonable goal helps to set a new direction. Often one of the most common prescribed things for an individual who is suffering from clinical depression is one, exercise, or two, making the bed. Because even though that seems simple, but if you can consistently do that, and it's something that it shows that you are capable of digging yourself out of the hole that you feel that you are in. An example of an affective disorder is bipolar disorder. Also kind of a buzzword right now. This problem causes people to experience an extreme shift and up and down in how they feel. Their behavior changes from one of extreme euphoria, if you will, on top of the world. I feel uber smart, intelligent, and competent. Lots of energy. I'm going to do and conquer everything, to extremely low and depressed. And so it's secular. There's a cycle. And a common misconception is you'd be like, Coach Lake is bipolar because he can be laughing one minute and yell at us the next. That it's secular and that you can't jump back and forth. Bipolar generally will last 2 to 3 weeks in an up phase, and then 2 or 3 weeks or up to in the bottom phase. So it's consistent in the levels that you're at. Anyway, so how are thought disorders treated? A thought disorder is the most serious kind of mental disorder. So symptoms of thought disorders are twisted or false ideas and beliefs. A twisted idea is a hallucination, an idea about an object or event that is not real. All right, so when you all think about, hey, I can lift more weight than Coach Lake, you're having a hallucination. No, joke. Stop laughing, Eric. That's not funny. That's a true statement. A delusion is also thinking you can lift more than Coach Lake. But anyway, is a twisted or false idea, okay? And then the combination of a twisted idea and a false belief keeps a person with thought disorders out of touch with reality. So, and here's the key thing, only mental professionals can treat thought disorders. And it's basically when an individual struggles to know the difference between reality and what they're imagining or what is in their head. Okay, so how are eating disorders treated? Okay, eating disorders are attempts to cope with psychological problems through eating habits. People falsely believe that they don't look good and have to change their appearance. The focus on appearance often leads to an eating disorder, and an eating disorder can be a way of avoiding the pain of regular life. So this is something they can control. All right, don't worry about that. That's just my phone. Fowler, put your phone away. All right, eating disorders are serious and require professional help for treatment. So there are three main eating disorders: anorexia, bulimia, and compulsive overeating. All right, anorexia, real brief, is an emotional problem characterized by severe weight loss. So anorexia is characterized by extreme weight loss. An individual wants to control the way they look and deal with an emotional problem. So what they do is they lose massive amounts of weight, traditionally speaking. Okay, bulimia is an emotional problem that involves eating large amounts of food that acts as a temporary satisfies them psychologically for a very short time. It then causes guilt, and then that causes you to either purge. Well, it causes you to purge in the form of either exercise or generally vomiting, expelling the food, or severe dieting, or laxatives, the use of laxatives. Okay, compulsive overeating is an emotional problem involving binging eating, but not purging. So those two get misunderstood quite often, bulimia and compulsive eating. Bulimia is eating large amounts of food generally, and then purging. Compulsive overeating is just eating but no purging. All right, so checking for understanding real quick. So what I want you to do, write the answer to these questions on a separate sheet of paper using complete sentences. A, what does a substance abuse disorder involve? B, what are 2 ways anxiety disorders can be treated? C, what is clinical depression? And D, give an example of hallucination or delusion. All right, thank you for watching. Hopefully you do well. If not, email, call, write. Goodbye.